Oh, let me tell you something. I am so sick of Washington and all its works and all them politicians down there and them congressmen and the congressmen.
Republicans are also encountering angry voters, but Democrats seem to be getting the worst of it, and they accuse Republican operatives of sending protesters to their town hall meetings.
This initiative is funded by the high end. We call it Astroturf. It's not really a grassroots movement. It's Astroturf by some of the wealthiest people of America.
But even if there's any truth to that charge, the reality is that poll after poll shows Americans are divided about Obama-style health care reform.
There's a legitimate grassroots opposition that's going on, or is it an AstroTurf type of thing?
I think they're AstroTurf. You be the judge of carrying swastikas and symbols like that to a town meeting on health care. My statement is misleading. My statement is misleading. I'm sorry.
American people have a right to know or ask what's going on here. The truth is, America went to war against Iraq based on a lie. The previous administration even pursued torture to try to extract false confessions to try to justify the war. It's time to tell the truth. The truth is, we Democrats were given control of Congress in 2006 to end the war. Democrats were elected on a promise to end the war in Iraq. We're continuing it. Democrats were elected to get us out of Afghanistan.
In this last election, when I say we, the Democrats, I think pushed it as far as we can to the envelope. We didn't say it, but we implied it, that if we won the congressional elections, we could stop the war. Now, anybody who was a good student of government knew that wasn't true. But, you know, the temptation to want to win back the Congress, we sort of stretched the facts. And people want to win back the Congress, we sort of stretched the facts. And people ate it up.
The overwhelming dominance of corporate power. It radiates and adversely affects how we use our tax dollars, how we spend our tax dollars, the tax system, whether people are going to get full health insurance, whether they're going to get a living wage, whether the environment is going to be cleaned up, whether we're going to let peace considerations control or the military-industrial complex, whether we're going to bail out these corporations who are corrupt on Wall Street. The corporatization of our life, the commercialization of our life, subverting civic values and corrupting the electoral, political, and governmental system is the overriding issue. And it was like nobody talked about it. Corporate crime wave, corporate welfare, the corporate determination of our environmental future, our genetic future, our educational future. It was a massive exercise in the language of avoidance, which spells political cowardliness.
This week we're hearing that a public option for health care is unlikely because it doesn't have the support of enough Democrats. Even Ted Kennedy's plan, Ted Kennedy, leaves 37 million uninsured. This is because we don't have a left and a right party in this country anymore. We have a center-right party and a crazy party. And over the last 30-odd years, Democrats have moved to the right, and the right has moved into a mental hospital. So what we have is one perfectly good party for hedge fund managers, credit card companies, banks, defense contractors, big agriculture, and the pharmaceutical lobby. That's the Democrats. And they sit across the aisle from a small group of religious lunatics, flat earthers, and Civil War reenactors who mostly communicate by AM radio and call themselves the Republicans. I see Democrats on television. I don't see actual liberals. And if occasionally you do get to hear Ralph Nader or Noam Chomsky or Dennis Kucinich, they're treated like buffoons. Okay, these are not three of the world's most charismatic men, but then nobody's going to confuse Newt Gingrich for Zac Efron. Shouldn't there be one party that unambiguously supports cutting the military budget, gay marriage, higher taxes on the rich, universal health care, legalizing pot, and steep direct taxing of polluters? These aren't radical ideas. A majority of Americans are either already for them or would be if they were properly argued and defended. And what we need is an actual progressive party to represent the millions of Americans who aren't being served by the Democrats. Because bottom line, Democrats are the new Republicans.
We'll tell you any shit you want to hear.
I am staying a Republican because I think I have an important role, a more important role to play there. I have said bluntly that it was more important to me to cast that very important vote for the country than it was to keep my seat in the United States Senate. And I feel comfortable with that. So there comes a point where doing what I think, what my conscience tells me is right, not worth violating my conscience to keep my seat.
I am not prepared to have my 29-year record in the United States Senate decided by the Pennsylvania Republican primary. I'd like to take on a tough primary fight if you'll help me raise money. And I said, well, maybe I'd do it if you'd come out for me.
I'm here to say it as plainly as I can. Arlen Specter is the right man for the United States Senate.
We'll tell you any shit you want to hear.
And I said, well, maybe I'd do it if you'd come out for me.
As I told Senator Specter yesterday, he has my full support, my full commitment to work with. Today I have the honor of standing next to the newest Democrat from the state of Pennsylvania.
I can count on this man. See, that's important. He's a firm ally when it matters most.
My seniority that I've acquired thanks to your help on my re-election efforts has enabled me to become chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And along with Senator Kennedy, I'm the lead sponsor of the Employees Free Choice Act. Employees Choice, also known as Carb Share. I think it is a bad bill, and I'm opposed to it and would not vote to invoke cloture. We held hearings last year, and it was my conclusion, my judgment, that this legislation ought to be pursued and ought to be followed.
We'll tell you any shit you want to hear.
This is supposed to be your Congress. A few days ago, George W. Bush got what he wanted. A $700 billion blank check for the crooks, swindlers, and speculators on Wall Street who misused trillions of dollars that belong to worker pensions, mutual funds, and other small investors. 1,500 or so corporations get their way with a majority of those 535 men and women in the Senate and the House. Keep in mind, 535 men and women who put their shoes on every day like you and I do. These corporations have a lot of power and money, but they don't have a single vote. We're the ones who have the vote. Now let's not exaggerate what it takes for us to make this a people's Congress instead of a Congress in the pockets of big business. It's got to be you. And the way you vote, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you.
But they're all going to have us over the hill to the poorhouse. We ain't going to be able to drive over there because we ain't got no gas, so we're going to have to walk it. Listen, my whole point is this whole thing with the energy and everything. This is all a conspiracy. No, you know that? It's a conspiracy there. Listen, for years, all our lives, they've been telling us to go out and buy stuff. And now, after all the big corporations there make the billions and billions of dollars worth of profits, signals, wham, they're changed. The country is going straight into the dumper.
Turn them off!
This is the theater of the absurd, my friends. This is the theater of the absurd.